We're going to talk about a supplement that's often thrown into pre-workouts but rarely at the right dose. Beta-alanine has been sold on the promise of an immediate buzz, but the real story is about how much you take and how consistently you take it. In this video, we'll debunk the marketing tricks, explain what the science really says, and show you why a 1-gram capsule won't get you anywhere near the performance benefits you're hoping for. If you've ever taken a pre-workout and felt a strange prickly sensation, you might have assumed that sensation means the supplement is kicking in. The truth is that many formulas lean on that feeling as a selling point. Paresthesia, the tingling caused by beta-alanine, is a harmless nerve reaction to a spike in blood levels. It doesn't tell you anything about whether the dose is large enough to boost muscle carnosine. It just tells you that the compound hit your bloodstream quickly. Throughout this video, you'll see why chasing a sensation is the wrong way to judge effectiveness. When you look at what's actually in most pre-workout products, the numbers are sobering. A typical scoop gives you about 1 gram of beta-alanine, which is about what an omnivorous diet already provides. Effective protocols in the literature use roughly 3 to 6 grams per day, and they split that total into multiple servings. If all you're taking is a 1-gram scoop or capsule, you're miles away from the amount needed to meaningfully raise your muscle carnosine levels. Beta-alanine isn't some exotic stimulant. It's a simple amino acid that your body uses to make carnosine. Carnosine sits inside your muscle fibers and acts as a buffer by mopping up the hydrogen ions produced during hard exercise. Those hydrogen ions are what drive down pH and cause that burning sensation that eventually forces you to slow down. In humans, carnosine accounts for roughly 7% of the muscle's buffering capacity, and when you supplement with beta-alanine, you can push that contribution even higher. That's why serious athletes use it, not because it makes them feel anything right away, but because it builds up a buffer system that helps them sustain high-power efforts. During intense bouts, your muscles produce a lot of hydrogen ions, and if those ions aren't buffered, the pH in your muscle drops. That acidic environment interferes with enzymes that generate ATP and disrupts the proteins that allow your muscles to contract. By increasing intramuscular carnosine, beta-alanine supplementation helps soak up those excess protons and delays the onset of acidosis. The result is that you can maintain force output and quality of training for longer. This buffering effect shines in efforts lasting roughly 1 to 4 minutes, when hydrogen ion buildup is the primary thing slowing you down. So what does that mean in practice? The meta-analyses show that chronically supplementing with beta-alanine produces small but meaningful gains in time to exhaustion tests on the order of about 2 to 3%. That might sound modest, but in competitive sports, a couple of percent can separate winners from the rest of the field. These benefits are most consistent in events or training bouts lasting between about 60 and 240 seconds, such as a hard set of repeated sprints or a volume set in the gym. It's not designed to directly increase your 1 repetition max, but it can let you squeeze out extra reps or maintain pace when the acid buildup would normally shut you down. Here's where most people get it wrong. The research consistently shows that you need roughly 3 to 6 grams of beta-alanine per day to build up your muscle carnosine stores. Those grams shouldn't come all at once. Each serving should be less than about 2 grams to minimize that tingling sensation. Larger single doses or slow-release tablets won't speed up the process and can actually be less effective because they don't raise plasma levels enough to drive carnosine synthesis. The key is to hit the right total daily intake and keep doing it day after day. Carnosine doesn't magically flood your muscles overnight. Studies show that after about 4 weeks of taking beta-alanine, your muscle carnosine rises by roughly 60%, and after about 10 weeks, it can be up around 80%. That means you need at least a month of consistent, adequate dosing before you'll notice any real difference in performance. Expecting an immediate boost from a couple of servings misses the entire point of how this supplement works. Because carnosine saturates slowly, consistency is everything. Don't skip days and don't rely on a single large hit to do the job. Spread your intake across the day to keep plasma levels steady and to minimize tingling. Taking beta-alanine with meals may enhance absorption and makes the doses easier to tolerate. Most importantly, remember that the absence of tingles doesn't mean it isn't working. The real changes are happening silently inside your muscle fibers. When you get the dosing and the loading phase right, beta-alanine improves your ability to maintain high-intensity output. That 2 to 3% improvement in capacity translates into more quality reps, more total volume, or a slightly faster time in a middle distance event. It isn't going to build muscle by itself, but by extending the point of fatigue, it gives you the opportunity to train harder and recover better within each set or interval. This is where most supplement labels mislead you. 1 gram per day is roughly what you get from an ordinary omnivorous diet. It's far below the 3 to 6 grams per day shown to elevate muscle carnosine. At that level, there's no meaningful increase in muscle buffering, so those tiny amounts can't deliver the endurance benefits you've heard about. Many companies include 1 gram simply so they can print contains beta-alanine on the label, and rely on the tingling to convince you it's working. Underdosing isn't a rare exception, it's the norm. Many pre-workouts advertise beta-alanine but only deliver a 1 gram token dose. They bank on the tingling sensation to sell the product, and they often hide their inadequate amounts behind proprietary blends, so you can't see how little you're getting. A genuine performance formula should provide a total of 3 to 6 grams spread over the course of a day, not a token sprinkle. Paresthesia, the tingling you feel after a large beta-alanine bolus, is simply a benign nerve sensation. It typically occurs when more than about 800 milligrams are taken at once. The feeling fades as plasma levels normalize and doesn't correlate with how much carnosine your muscles are making. In other words, feeling it doesn't mean it's working, and not feeling it doesn't mean it's not. Carnosine builds quietly over weeks. The tingle is just a side effect of dosing too much at once. If the tingling bothers you, there are simple fixes. Split your daily dose into portions of roughly 800 milligrams or less. Use a sustained release formulation if you prefer, or take it with food to slow absorption. Those strategies keep plasma levels steady and largely eliminate the nerve sensation. Either way, remember that the tingling is harmless and temporary. It's not a sign of damage or effectiveness. This is where the supplement industry often crosses into fairy tale territory. Some brands will fairy dust their formulas, sprinkling in tiny doses just to list an ingredient on the label. They hide the actual grams behind proprietary blends, and then their marketing highlights the tingling as proof of action. As an informed consumer, you should demand transparent labeling, ignore the hype, and base your decisions on the evidence. Always check the numbers. 1,000 milligrams is only 1 gram, and a single gram once per day isn't enough. When you see proprietary blend on a label, it often signals that the individual dosages are inadequate. Look for a total of 3 to 6 grams of beta-alanine per day across all servings, and whenever possible, choose standalone powders or formulas that clearly disclose their ingredient amounts. Getting it right isn't complicated, but it does require planning. Aim for 3 to 6 grams per day divided into multiple servings. Spread those servings 3 to 4 hours apart to keep plasma levels steady and avoid tingling. Follow a loading phase of 4 to 10 weeks. After that, you can maintain elevated carnosine with about 3 grams per day. Taking your doses with meals or right after training makes it easier to remember and may improve uptake. Think of beta-alanine like creatine. You have to load it. Spend 4 to 10 weeks at the full 3 to 6 grams per day to saturate your muscles. Once you've built up your carnosine stores, a daily maintenance dose of about 3 grams keeps those levels elevated. The nice thing is that carnosine declines slowly, so if you miss a day here or there after the loading phase, you won't immediately lose the benefits. Become a label detective. Look for the amount of beta-alanine per serving and be aware that you may need multiple capsules to reach the full daily dose. Avoid products that hide behind proprietary blends because you have no idea how much you're actually taking. Choose brands that are transparent about using carnosine or equivalent quality material and that clearly list their dosages so you can hit the evidence-based target. This supplement isn't for everyone. It's most useful for athletes who push their glycolytic system hard. Think CrossFitters, sprinters, and team sport athletes who do repeated high-intensity efforts. Lifters working in high rep ranges with minimal rest and tactical populations who rely on repeated bursts of output may also benefit. If your training regularly has you gasping for breath in that 1 to 4 minute range, beta-alanine can help. On the flip side, casual gym goers with low training volumes won't notice much difference. Athletes who focus on maximal strength with long rest periods, where acidosis isn't the limiting factor, can probably spend their money elsewhere. And if you're not willing to commit to taking several grams every day for weeks on end, you won't see the payoff, so it's better to skip it than to waste money on a half-hearted approach. Don't fall for 1 gram capsules or scoops. Don't judge the supplement by whether it makes your skin tingle. Don't skip days or stop when you don't feel anything. Consistency is non-negotiable, and don't expect overnight results. Beta-alanine is a slow burn that pays off after weeks of proper use. Beta-alanine works when you respect the science. The evidence-based standard is 3 to 6 grams per day for at least 4 weeks. 1 gram per day is essentially a placebo, and the tingling sensation is just a side effect, not a measure of effectiveness. To get real results, trust the data, not the marketing hype. So here's the bottom line. Beta-alanine is a proven performance aid, but only when used properly. Underdosing wastes your money and won't move the needle. Commit to the full protocol, be patient during the loading phase, and ignore the marketing noise. At AOF Supplements, we call out the BS because serious lifters deserve the truth.